This video is made possible by the following mad lads. All their awesome gear they supplied to me can be checked out in the description below. Hey guys, McLaren haven't broken my legs yet over my first video of the McLaren Senna GTR, so I thought I'd do another one, boy here. And welcome back to R Factor 2 for another video. So yes, old predictable Jimmy, here we are at the Nordschleife to see how fast this McLaren Senna GTR can make its way around. Now, whilst this car isn't strictly a hypercar in the sense that McLaren says it isn't going to be a hypercar, the way it's been made in RF2, it is designed to run in the top level of an endurance series, so it's kind of a representation of a hypercar, kind of not. We're going to keep that loose, but it should give us a rough idea of what one of those cars would do around this circuit. In my last video about this car, I had a couple of struggles finding some figures for it. In fact, when I asked Studio 397, the guys who modelled this car and put it into R Factor 2, they couldn't give me any specs because apparently they weren't allowed to tell me, which is great. But since then, a lot of you guys in the comments have been super helpful, so thank you for that, and posted some facts and figures about this car to give us a more accurate idea of the power it produces, etc. And first of all, let's talk about what this car is based on. The car is the McLaren Senna GTR, the faster version of the McLaren Senna road car, which is already pretty damn quick. Rumoured to have about 800 horsepower or so, probably even a little bit more than that. And if it's to fit into the hypercar class, which I think this car is designed to in R Factor 2, not in the real world, then the weight will be around 1100 kilos or so, and I'd believe that with all that carbon fibre. The car is rumoured to produce around 1200 kilograms of downforce, which of course is a lot, but is substantially less than an LMP1 car, and downforce is something you need for a good lap here at the Green Hell. In terms of lap time, I don't really know what to expect from this thing, because there isn't really much like it in the racing world. But I can tell you that when I was on one of my practice laps and I was really cruising around, I mean, nowhere near red line, just getting a feel for the car and the tyres, I easily went under 7 minutes. So, yeah, it's going to be quick. But time for the main event. Let's see how fast the McLaren Senna GTR hypercar, kinda, can lap the Nordschleife. So, on board in the McLaren Senna GTR, just warming the tyres and trying to get some heat in the brakes before we start our lap. You know what cold brakes are like in RF2. We are on the world's most reflective track surface, it seems, for this lap. But we'll see what we can do. Come around the last corner and plant it, then let the traction control take over for our hot lap of the Nordschleife in the McLaren Senna GTR hypercar. Kind of. Through the first corner, a bit clumsy through there, now downhill towards Hatzenbach, brush of the brakes, back on the power. Very quick down here, then on the brakes very, very early down here. The brakes do not match the performance of the car in a straight line. You've got to really get on them early and for quite a long time, even with all this downforce through the first section. Not so bad through there. Brake fairly early. And then try and concentrate on when we get on the power. There it is. Nice and easy. Then we let the Uber power unit of this thing take over, up the hill, over the Flugplatz. Brush of the brake, blend on, there you go, very nice. And then we can run away. Watch that speedo down here. This car is deceptively fast in a straight line. There you go, 320 k's of course is 200 mile an hour, and we're just going to brush it before coming over the crest here. And then brake way before the transition on the tarmac. Come to the inside to try and hit the groove of the rubber there. Got through there nice and cleanly. And now back downhill towards the compression. You get up to speed so quickly in this thing. You go 7th gear again. We'll go down to 5th, touch the curb on the inside here, and then it's just bleeding off the speed as easily as possible through this section here. As I said, the straight line performance here doesn't really match the brakes and the handling. The handling feels substantially worse in terms of where the straight line performance is. So it's almost like when you build a car on the original Gran Turismo, give it 800 horsepower or so, and then go, no, I won't upgrade the tyres or brakes, and then you find out what happens when you do that. This is a representation of that almost. Still very quick in the corners, don't get me wrong, but not 800 horsepower quick in the corners, it feels like. I guess that's what the regs are designed to do. Easy through this section, miss hit miss now. See if we can actually do that. There's almost a hit. It was like miss hit hit. And then brake incredibly early for this corner. It looks like I'm being very cautious on the brakes, but you can see even there I'm struggling to get to the apex. Just can't quite get the speed to bleed off in the way you want it to on the brakes. Probably something to do with the fact you're approaching it at a million billion miles an hour every time you get to a corner. And even with traction control, you can see the rear of this car is just looking for any excuse to get loose. There you go. You can just see the speed, how quickly it rises in this thing. It really is quite ludicrous. And then just how much time you have to spend screwing it back off again on the brakes. And again, now we are on the world's most reflective track surface. This lap is actually on the surface of the sun. Which is very handy. Uphill now, this thing just keeps pulling, even with that massive wing on the back. The wing, as I was told by you guys, as I said in the introduction, produces around just over a ton of downforce, and we're still just pushing through it, keeping 6th gear for the best possible run up here. And then down the 5th through here, sliding it into the corner almost. That's how you drive this thing. It really does feel like a GT car, but just on steroids. Braking very early there before this right-hander. It's so easy to go wide here and just run into the wall at a very slow, very embarrassing speed. Now for the carousel, we can take it, but we have to slow the car right down. And again, this surface of a sun trap reflection doesn't really do me any good here, because this is an old trap model with the new visual effects, or newish visual effects that RF2 has. And brush the brake up here. It's about trying to keep momentum in this car. You wouldn't think it would be that way, but that's kind of how it feels. Even with that massive power, the more momentum you can keep, the quicker your lap time, as silly as that sounds. Downhill, 5th gear, we'll take 4 through here, try and take some of this curb, then back over to the side of the track again. The car is sliding constantly when I'm doing that. And you see through there again, sliding. Just trying to minimise that as much as possible and try and keep the grip up. There you go, easy through this section. Just a little bit skatey through there, unfortunately. Easy up here. The screen goes off for a second, so I rely on my second monitor. I haven't done that on a Nordschleife lap for a while. Thank you very much, second monitor. It's a long lap round here. You forget how long it is. I'll touch the curb. Be careful over here. It's so easy to get the car up in the air for that section and for the next section. The Mercedes at Le Mans and the Porsche at Road America, or Road Atlanta even. See there, it started to come up at the front, but just about had enough speed to make sure it didn't happen. Now again, you're doing 300 Ks here, so you've got to brake quite early. I think you can brake later than that, but you really can't, trust me from previous attempts. And all the while, this lap is incredibly quick. I can tell you that already. It's going to be way under 7 minutes. How far under, over 6 minutes is what I'm interested to see. Easy there, through there. Very nice. Just kind of balance on the power through here. Dab of the brake to get the nose in, and then we can just run away down the straight. All the power and a bit more, please, Mr. McLaren Senna. Even with all this downforce bolted to the back of the car and some to the front, we're still just hurtling towards 200 miles an hour down the straight. Tyres cool a little bit down here. Well, the brakes do, I should say. The tyres seem to maintain heat, but it's all about trying to spot our braking zone now. 20 miles an hour uphill. We'll go underneath the bridge, and that speed will climb even more. Might have hit 330 coming downhill here. Not quite. And then we'll brake about here. It's about as late as I want to brake, and even that is drama. And just locking up a tiny bit there for the last section. Just one more corner to go, and then it's a drive the line. Oh, touch the wall on the inside there. That's going to hurt our time a little bit. Just misjudge that. To the line. And it's a 6:02.8, and I clipped the pit wall on the way by. This car, I think, in the hands of someone who's actually talented at driving, will go underneath 6 minutes here at a Nordschleife. Now, I've forgotten what the LMP1 times are, so I'm going to pull over quick and just look those up and see how we compare. 6:02.8, 2 seconds, lads. So I've just looked it up. The Audi R18 in iRacing LMP1 did this lap in a 5:33.6. So this is about 25 seconds, I'd say, slower a lap around here than an LMP1 car. The reason why I say 25 seconds is I made a couple of mistakes. I think I could have gone a little bit quicker. But my word, what a lap. That was a little bit sketchy, if I'm being honest. This car, as I said, is very, very quick in a straight line, but just doesn't quite have that same performance in the corners and under braking. It actually feels like You're being held back quite significantly by the brakes on this thing. That's just this new class, I suppose. But a lot of fun regardless. Hope you guys enjoyed the lap and hope you've had your curiosity sated as to how fast this can lap the Nordschleife. If you have, and if you enjoyed the video, then make sure to hit that like button. If you really enjoyed it, of course, and hit subscribe and the bell notification icon, because that way you'll be notified of future videos like this and future streams. As always, a massive thank you to my patrons and to my sponsors for supporting the channel, and to you guys for clicking on every video. Take care, have an awesome day, see you all next time.